Welcome back to the Sunday Gorilla Men's Bible Study. I'm Brother Thomas Lee Harris III, and we're continuing in our verse-by-verse study through the book of 1 Samuel. And we have reached chapter 13. And I'm going to jump right in at verse 1. Chapter 13, 1 Samuel. Saul reigned for 1 year. And when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in the mountains of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeath of Benjamin. And the rest of the people he sent away, every man to his tent. Verse 3. So Jonathan attacked the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. Then Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear." Now all Israel heard it and said that Saul had attacked a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel had also become an abomination to the Philistines. And the people were called together to Saul out at Gilgal. Verse 5. Then the Philistines gathered together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashores in multitude. And they came up and encamped Michmash to the east of Beth-aven. Verse 6. When the men of Israel saw that they were in danger, for the people were distressed, then the people hid in caves and thickets and rocks and holes and in pits. Verse 7. And some of the Hebrews crossed over the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. Verse 8. Then he waited 7 days, according to the time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. Verse 9. So Saul said, "Bring a burnt offering and peace offering here to me." And he offered the burnt offering. Now it happened, as soon as he had finished presenting the burnt offering, that Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might greet him. Verse 11. And Samuel said, "What have you done, Saul?" And Saul said, "When I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered together at Michmash, then I said, the Philistines will come down on me at Gilgal, and I have not made supplication to the Lord. Therefore I felt compelled and offered a burnt offering." Verse 13. And Samuel said to Saul, "You have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you. For now the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever." Verse 14. But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be commander over his people. And because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you. Right, so we're going to mark that as 13 and 14. And because Saul did not follow God's commandment, now there's consequences to not being obedient to God. We'll just keep it like that. Verse 15. Then Samuel arose, went up to Gilgal, into Gibeath of Benjamin, and Saul numbered the people present with him, about 600 men. Saul, Jonathan his son, and the people present with them remained in Gibeath of Benjamin, but the Philistines encamped at Michmash. Then raiders came out to the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned onto the road to Orpah, to the land of Shaul. Verse 18. Another company turned to the road of Beth Haran, And another company turned to the road of the border that overlooks the valley of Zebulun toward the wilderness. Verse 19. Now there was no blacksmith to be found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make swords or spears. But all the Israelites would go down to the Philistines to sharpen each man's plowshare, his mattock, his axe, and his sickle. Verse 21. And the charge for sharpening was a pim for plowshares, the mattock, the forks, and the axes, and to set the points on the gourds. So it came about on the day of the battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people who were with Saul and Jonathan, but they were found with Saul and Jonathan his son. Verse 23. The garrison of the Philistines went out to pass a mismatch. All right, so that completes the 13th chapter of the book of 1 Samuel. And we're seeing that Saul allowed fear to overcome him, and he disobeyed the commandment that was given to him by God. And because of this, consequences followed. And you know, they're preparing for battle with the Philistines, and the Philistines were kind of like the overseeing ruler government of the time. And it shared here how his men didn't even have swords, and they had to go to the Philistines to sharpen their tools for farming. So the Philistines knew that we weren't going to sharpen their swords too. So this chapter just kind of set you up. 13 and 14, the verses were important, where God lets the prophet Samuel know that Saul's time is limited. Amen? And that completes the 13th chapter, the book of 1 Samuel.